So after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, they got into a war. What it said with Palestine and Gaza was 73,000 civilians were killed or wounded. And also, there is a terrorist group involved called Hamas. I guess they pretty much control the entire area of Palestine and the Gaza Strip. These are some things that I have heard from people that live there in the Middle East from a couple different countries. They said that many times these terrorist groups deliberately set up within schools or hospitals, anywhere there's a bunch of civilians, and I guess they've even held children as human shields. I guess that Israel will also drop leaflets, and they even warn them when they're going to attack. That is what I've been told from people that live around those areas of the Middle East. They say that in order for Israel to defend themselves, that innocent civilians get killed due to the locations that Hamas, I guess, sets up their military base. I'm just touching on this briefly because I'm going to start to talk about other genocides that have been going on with other religions as well, that we never hear about. The main genocide that people often bring up is the war between Israel and Palestine. Who brings this up is usually people on the left, but I also do hear sometimes from people on the right. They say that the terrorist group Hamas does not care about civilians there. They said the United Nations has not sent food there. I guess there were tons of pallets of food that were never sent to Gaza. There were two things that I noticed on my own that do bother me about Palestine. One thing that bothers me is I saw them cheering whenever 9/11 happened. And the other thing that bothers me is I've seen a lot of footage of tiny kids there swinging machetes around and pretty much wanting to kill all infidels. I noticed that it's the only war or genocide that the Islamic groups talk about, and I've never witnessed anybody on the left bring up any other genocide. They might have, I've just never seen it. I've also been told that there's a lot of propaganda made to make Israel look the worst possible. So I wanted to talk about a few of the other genocides going on around the world. There have been so many religion genocides throughout the years. I just took stats from around the last 10 years mainly. The first genocide I wanted to talk about right now is what's going on in Iran. The Islamic Republic terrorist group took over Iran in 1979. The people there were a few different religions. I believe they were mostly Zoroastrian. They were forced to convert, pay a tax, or be slaughtered if they did not convert to Islam. They have been trying to get freedom since 1979. I read online in 1988 that 5,000 Iranian protesters were killed. In 2009, there were hundreds killed. November 2019, around 1,000. 2022 to 2023, 600. Earlier this year in January, there were at least 52,000 innocent Iranian protesters killed in 2 days. Some of them even had their toddlers shot that they were walking with on their shoulders. Many of them are still getting executed from that protest. Most recently, they hung a bunch of people from cranes. The Iranian protesters were walking peacefully, and they don't have any weapons, so the Islamic Republic terrorist group kept shooting them. That's the reason that they cannot fight the war by themselves. They do not have weapons, and it's unfair. That's why we need to get weapons to these protesters. I have faith in them. I know they can do it. So that is one genocide going on, and it was committed by an Islamic terrorist group, the Islamic Republic. There's also a genocide going on in Syria right now. Whenever the current leader got in charge of Syria, he started killing every other religion that was not Sunni Muslim. These are the different groups that have been under attack from a genocide in Syria. The Syrian Christians, the Yazidis, the Druze, the Alawites, the Kurds, and the Shia Muslims. There might be a few more, but those are the main groups that I know about. One statistic I wanted to mention, it said there were 2.5 million Syrian Christians in Syria that dropped to 500,000. But later I found, I believe in 2024, that there were 1.5 million Syrian Christians and it dropped to 300,000. I find different statistics, and this is all estimated. It also says the Christians in Iraq, in 2011 there were 1.2 million Christians, And now in 2024, there's only 120,000 Christians in Iraq. It also says that 7,000 Yazidi women were sold as sex slaves within Islam. Thousands more are missing. 5,000 were killed in 2014 of the Yazidis. 4,200 to 10,800 were kidnapped. And 500,000 Yazidis were displaced. It says the Druze in 2025-2026, over 1,300 were killed and nearly 200,000 were displaced whenever they were being tortured and killed in Syria. I blame the new leader for letting this happen. I heard he was a former member of Al-Qaeda, and he should not be letting them kill other religions. Then the Alawites say, civilians and militants killed 1,659, civilians 1,700. During 7 to 9 of March, it wasn't really clear with these, my apologies. It said 1,479, and then civilians and fighters 639, and then 1,700 unspecified. It didn't really have the years, it just had these amounts of people getting killed that were the Alawites. Also in 1988, 182,000 Kurds were killed, then 40,000, and then it said 530, and then 76 more. And the other genocide I wanted to mention was the horrific one that we see in Africa. So all of those genocides, all of those different religions were done by Islamic terrorist groups. Since about 2009, there were over 150,000 Christians killed in Africa. This is different areas of Africa. I know recently we've seen a lot with Nigeria. I've seen Sudan, and I've seen other sections of Africa under attack too. The Islamic terrorist groups, ISIS and Boko Haram, the groups that are attacking all of these Christians are funded by the Islamic Republic, the current terrorist group that we're attacking in Iran. I've been told that Iran has many minerals, and they have oil, and they're selling it, and that is how they fund all these terrorist groups that attack all of our religions, to include attacking the United States and our military bases. Each and every one of the other genocides are done by Islamic terrorist groups. They often mention how many people were killed or wounded in the Palestine area. And we know that Hamas is involved with that as well. But we never hear anyone mention the huge genocides going on in all the locations I just mentioned. Africa alone since 2009 has had over 150,000 Christians killed. That is how many were killed in Palestine doubled plus some. One thing I would like to know is, how come only the one situation where civilians are getting killed innocently with crossfire, how come that situation is the only one getting brought up? Why aren't people bringing up all these other genocides? These genocides were committed by Islam. If there really are peaceful people in every religion, then why are the peaceful people that are Islamic not speaking up about all the genocides of every religion that's not Islam? Where is your support for all of these other genocides going on that have way more people getting killed than the amount that were killed in Palestine and Gaza? I believe that the reason these aren't brought up is to turn people on the Jewish and on Israel. If people get killed in any genocide that mean me or you no harm, those are the people it bothers me when they get killed in the crossfire. Thank you all for watching. Please like and follow.